Would you like to learn how modern technology can help you adopt healthier eating habits and how to avoid getting caught up in the expectation that it can magically fix everything quickly and easily? My name is Monika Kuzminskaite. I am a health and nutrition psychologist, and this is podcast Spoonful of Reason. In previous posts, I've already mentioned digital interventions. When searching for studies published in English, look for the keyword JITAI, just-in-time adaptive intervention. These are digital tools that determine whether, when, and what kind of message to send to the user, rather than simply sending the same reminder at regular intervals. This method is based on a specific study by Nahum-Shani, Murphy, Spring, and colleagues. They argue that when developing such a tool, it is important to consider long-term goals, immediate objectives, existing information, decision points when a decision such as whether to eat can be made, decision rules. This part is usually handled by the system based on the existing data, and intervention options, what specifically can be sent or displayed to the user. Most often, this is reminders about cognitive reframing, breathing exercises, or reminders to eat regularly. For example, if sensors detect that a person has not moved for 50 minutes, is not driving, and is not working, a reminder to move is sent. Such solutions are not limited to managing eating behavior. They are also popular among groups seeking to achieve other health promotion goals. In eating-related areas, the most commonly described solutions are those aimed at promoting healthy eating in general, managing weight, and treating clinical eating disorders. In the case of eating disorders, many episodes of unhealthy eating or not eating are linked to momentary stressors. Therefore, this type of intervention is thought to be more helpful than weekly therapy sessions alone. Furthermore, much of the research relies on self-reports from the participants rather than sensor data, and this leaves room for error. We tend to overestimate or underestimate amounts, durations, we forget things, or we don't feel comfortable reporting accurately. So decisions based on objective sensor data should, in theory, be more effective. However, there is certainly no sensor yet that can read and interpret thoughts about hunger, self-control, or decision to eat. So information provided by the individual also remains important. What interesting studies have been conducted in this field over past 5 years? To begin with, the field of research is not yet very mature. Most studies aim to determine whether such an approach is acceptable at all and whether it can be applied in practice, rather than assessing its effectiveness. More than half of the studies relied on the information reported by the participants themselves, while evaluations based on random sampling showed that the results are significant but highly dependent on individual behavior. A great deal of effort is put into using data from a single person rather than relying on data based on observations of many people. So-called normal behavior or baseline is established over a few weeks, and any subsequent unusual deviations are evaluated against the standard. But it seems to me that whenever you start something new, there's always an initial, let's say, honeymoon effect, and the first stage doesn't really reflect typical behavior. More significant results are observed in the group with short-term goals, for example, aiming to track one's progress, eat more fruits and vegetables, or respond to reminders, but not against the long-term goals. One study found that relapses were more closely related to ability to use the app consistently than to actual weight loss. In another study, JITAI interventions improved weekly results from 2.6 to 4.7%, but only for one weight loss program and not for another. researchers say that they're still searching for the most effective methods to improve long-term results. It is still difficult for data processing systems to accurately determine the right moment to intervene for a specific person. For some, reminders work perfectly, while for others, the effect is barely noticeable. There are interesting findings regarding eating sensors themselves. Researchers are now attempting to assess not only specific movements, but also are conducting studies using uh, virtual glasses, uh, ear and jaw sensors, and earbuds. The goal is to determine not only the fact of eating, but also the speed and duration of eating. It is precisely these eating episodes that may indicate unusual relapse, typical rapid eating, or consumption of unusual amount, either significantly higher or lower than usual. Artificial intelligence in this area may also seem like a very appealing mechanism that could be trained to operate independently. Studies already conducted have shown that people using AI tools were able to achieve significant results, and they were given recommendations strictly unsuitable for people sensitive to eating disorder triggers. For example, they were advised to restrict calories. And this went unnoticed because people did not critically evaluate AI's recommendations. One group of researchers published a study showing that as many as 41% of interactions with popular AI tools provide harmful recommendations to people seeking to improve their eating habits. There are interesting location-based studies. Notifications are generated when user of the app is near grocery stores or restaurants. Preliminary data shows that context remains important. While reminders are received positively when someone is in a store, but when they are received in restaurant, they are seen as intrusive and spoiling the moment. Based on this information, would you like to try something that might help you? Here is what I suggest. First, realistically adjust your expectations. There likely aren't any apps yet that can reliably measure your behavior and help you specifically. The ones showing the best results are only available by participating in ongoing studies. Number two, you can achieve similar results on your own. And this is what you need to do. Identify one or more triggers that you already recognize, such as time, place, or feeling. Notice what happened before and formulate in advance realistic action you'd like to take, such as go out, do something enjoyable or meaningful, have a conversation, etc. Write down all your if-then combinations and review them regularly. Generally, actions tailored to the context of the trigger work better than those set for a specific moment in time. 3. Don't forget the usual precautions. Don't keep foods that you want to avoid in plain sight, and keep in sight foods that you do want to eat. Next one. Most of the methods currently being studied work best in combination with therapeutic support. If one therapist isn't a good fit for you, that doesn't mean therapy doesn't work. Try finding another one. The therapist's personality is an important factor in effective therapeutic work. And the last one, be skeptical of advice from artificial intelligence. Be sure to verify it against your existing knowledge or recommendations from professional specialists. That's all for this week about digital tools and artificial intelligence in the eating behavior context. My name is Monika Kuzminskaite. I'm a health and nutrition psychologist. I help to deal with simple and complicated issues around emotions, thinking, and behaviors. I write, I give lectures, and I provide psychological counseling. You'll find the link to register for a counseling session in the comment of each post. In my longer weekly posts, I also share links to the relevant scientific studies and recommendation of 3 books on the topic. So you'll find that at the end of the post as well. If you have any comments or questions, please drop me a message in the social media. Otherwise, wishing you serenity, and